In today's video, we're using 3D printing to help a local auto parts store organize their tool cart. This one is a bit of an extended cut, going through my thought process on laying everything out, so if that is something that interests you, I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the video. I also thought I should mention, if you don't want to see the whole thought process, if that's not something that you're interested in, there is timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to when we start 3D printing. Let's get right into it. So I went in there, took some measurements of the overall size of the cart. I'm not really looking to, do a one-off custom design here, because a lot of these things are things that, there's designs for already, such as the sockets and the wire snips and the clip puller. There's designs on Makerworld, Printables, somewhere out there that we can use to integrate into here and kind of create a little setup. And I may even utilize the Gridfinity system for this. We'll just have to see exactly what kind of models they have. For right now, though, I want to calibrate this canvas. One thing I need to change, since the tape measure is an imperial, is we're going to have to calibrate it imperial. We'll just click on the 14, and I'll come down to the 11. And we're going to say that's 3 inches. So the first thing that I want to do is just create a sketch on this top plane. It looks like the full overall size top to bottom is going to be 28 inches. So the perspective that the picture is being taken from is kind of skewing the actual overall size of the bottom there. But I know from the picture that I've got about a 1/4 inch lip on each side. So we're probably right at around 28.5, 29 inches is the overall size. And as far as that goes, we're going to put that at 14. And then I'm going to call this one 28. It is going to overextend it a little bit, but that doesn't really matter because this is really just the area that I'm concerned about. This area over here is going to be reserved for the battery that they're changing. I'll finish this, and I'm going to use this as kind of a reference. So I'm going to press pull or extrude, and I'm going to come up about 4 inches. And that should give me kind of the box that we're looking to fill. Then the next thing I can do is come in from the top, and I'm going to shell. And I want this. I want just an inside shell. Inside thickness we'll do 0.25. And okay. All right, well, that's good enough for what we're looking to do. So we've essentially got the box that all of the stuff is going to be sitting inside of. So I'm going to turn back on our bodies, and guess the canvases can stay. At this point, I'm looking for some socket holders. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deep well sockets, 3 of the extenders. Down there is a 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter on top of a 1/4 inch socket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 and 6. 6 of the deep well and 6 of the normal regular sized sockets. Now, if we could only see what size they were, I can get better confirmation. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a perfect snap in place labeled for these exact sockets or these exact tools. I honestly could print a tray that is half the size of this cart that is divided into like 3 sections, and that would probably be good enough for them. But I have to be overkill, so I'm gonna lay things out and arrange them and see how everything will fit. And I think if we use the Gridfinity system, that'll give them the ability to move things around as they see fit as well. All right, so what I'm going to do now is Gridfinity has this great little website. You can go into here and go to the catalog. And to start out, I'm just going to do base. And let's go here. This should give us all of the base plates, I believe. Yeah, so this has all of the different size base plates that you can use with the Gridfinity system. And then this will be my first time using Gridfinity as well. I've never really dug into it, but as I'm looking at this battery card, I'm really seeing how this could be used to organize pretty much anything. So I'm going to download the base plates. And we'll unzip them. I am going to get one of these imported into Fusion. Let's see here. Insert mesh. Go to the Gridfinity Baseplates. And select, you can see the 1x2. Let's see what the weighted. The weighted, I guess, just has the bottom in there. We don't really need the weighted base plates, although there is just the single. So that's a 7x7 frame. What does that look like when we open it? Don't forget that these are all designed in millimeters, so if you open it up in your inch file, you might be overscaling it. Really, my plan with this box is just to see what we can fit in here. So it almost looks like we can fit 8 by 8. Actually, let's turn it around a little bit so we can put this where it actually needs to go. So it does look like I could fit 8 by 8. This is a 7 by 7. 8 by 8 would basically be perfect. So let's hit OK on that. I should be able to go into here, move, and just drag it up so we can see it on the top of our plane. Insert mesh, and let's see if they have a 1 by 7 right there. Okay, 1 by 7, M for move. Just going to bring it up the same inch that I brought the other one up. Then if I take this, drag it off that way, and rotate it 90 degrees. So we're going to insert a little 1 by 1 weighted plate. Move that over into that corner. So you can see that 8 by 8 base for the Gridfinity system pretty much covers the area we're looking to cover. There are some odds and ends, and everything in this picture is pretty tight together, and we are kind of missing out on the screwdriver being inside of there. So I think with that said, what I'm gonna do, insert the 1 by 2 frame. I'm gonna drag it over to here. Okay, create a copy of this. So now I have measurements essentially, and all of our tools will fit inside of this area. So that'll leave us with roughly 5/8 of the cart for the tools to be well organized, as well as the other 3/8 or so on this side for the battery. All right, so the next thing I want to do is go back into here. Just search for Gridfinity socket holder. And this one actually looks like it might do everything I need it to. If it's got it's got the wrench holders, and those look to be pretty universal. So this is by AutoCode 3D on Printables. I'll link this down in the description. Even if I don't end up using this, this is a very extensive, a lot of work was put into this. So hats off to you, AutoCode 3D. It is going to take me a minute, I think, to go through some of these to see what I'm looking for.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, so after looking through this a little bit and not knowing exactly what we have to work with in terms of the wrench sizes and the socket sizes, I am going to save this for a different project, I think. I think it's a really awesome, well-designed file, but it's honestly more than what I'm looking for in terms of, this type of use. So I know we've only got 6 and 6 to work with. This will be awesome for our extensions. That's a universal length, but that's for a 1/2 inch extension, and I believe all we're working with is 3/8. All right, so I think what I'm going to go with, very simple design. We will download this one for our sockets. I'll print it out twice, and that'll give us enough for all 6 sockets. We don't have enough to utilize that one, really. This was another one by him. And the other one I want to use, I think I'm going to get it. This takes up a 3 by 3. We have 8 by 8. We have to remember our sockets are also going to take up some of that, too. And honestly, I think the 3/8 is going to fit just fine inside of here. So let's get both of these. You can unzip that so we can use it. Let's go back into Fusion and pull our bodies back up. Let's start laying out some of these different parts. Let's get our sockets in there. We want to rotate this so it's 90 degrees. All right, so we've got one socket holder there. Create a copy of it and drag it down. So we've got 2. That's enough for 6 sockets. Next, let's insert, I guess, both of these. All right, then we can move that, rotate it 90 degrees. Rotate this 90 degrees. Move it in line. Then we can select both of them. Let's do our longest one on this side. So I guess we can start it there. And go like that. So I suppose they'll put the deep wells over here, and then the smaller ones there. Create a copy and drag it over. Right, next will be the 6-inch. That and rotate it 90 degrees. All right. So we've got enough room for the 12-inch, the 6-inch, and then our little 3-inch extension. If we shut the canvas off, kind of see how that's going to look. Turn our canvas back on and shut the bodies off so we can see what else we have to work with. So we've covered all of these. So now we really need something to hold our wrenches. So let's go find some wrench holders for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just do 6 wrenches since that makes sense. Gridfinity wrench. Really just need something simple, or like I said, 6 wrenches. So I guess the only thing we have to pay attention to in this situation is how long is our longest wrench. So that's a 3 wide by 7 tall, and that's 4 wide by 6 tall. That's enough for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a 4 by 6, and I think that should be enough, but let's get them both anyway. And we'll turn bodies back on so we have our grid. I guess our longest wrench, they're all about the same length by the looks of it. We can insert, so we'll do the 4 by 6. Okay. Take a look at it from the front, bring it up a bit. As close as we can, anyway. I mean, we can play around. That's what's so good about the Gridfinity system is none of this is set in stone where it goes, so it can all be adjusted. And that should store all of our wrenches. We could even rotate this 90 degrees, actually. I don't know, stick it there. So now we've got our wrench holder, our sockets, and these may end up on this side or over here, but for now, we're just going to see what we can fit in here. Next, I need some space to hold the battery terminal cleaner and I guess these 3 things. So maybe a basket that can hold the needle nose pliers, the wire snips, and the panel puller. That's not a bad little system right there. My only concern is in a commercial environment, I feel like these are going to get snapped right off. So this is 1 by 5. All right, I think these 2 can fit inside one of these baskets. Maybe not. Maybe they need an open end. Let's try this one. Then the next one that I want to do is screwdriver. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I would like it to be flat, though. And unfortunately, they're not all the same style of screwdriver. What about this? Something that can fit the base and then the end. Let's do that. And this one is from Chris J on Printables. And I'll have links to all the ones that I use on here down in the description, as well as the first one, because that one was just insanely detailed and he deserves credit for it. So let's unzip some of these. There we go. So let's turn bodies back on. Come in from the top. That's what's so cool about this is like I've got leftover space here so we can drop this guy right into place. Now we're starting to get a look at what the cart is going to look like. Far more organized than this. And you can see how everything laid out on the tray as it is, it kind of spans half the cart. But when we turn the bodies back on, we don't actually even need that much space, because the only thing I've got left to store is this puller and our 3 screwdrivers, which we insert the mesh of our screwdriver, get it kind of lined up. So they've got the larger end here for the base of the screwdriver, and then the smaller end for the tip. I'm going to rotate these 90 degrees so they're in line with everything else. This is going to be for 1 screwdriver. And what's great is everything is accurate in terms of kind of get the spacing between them out. So I know this one is going to end up right around here, just based off of where that lines up. So then I can take this and say, probably want this to go here or even here. Maybe try this. And that should be the same for all of them. So I should just be able to copy. Okay. Create a copy. Okay, and so now we've got our 3 screwdriver holders. Last thing I want to get down here is a spot to hold the battery terminal cleaner, and then something for the clip puller. Something like this from Landon Campbell. The step files are pretty cool because that allows you to pull it right up into Fusion and modify it if you need to. Let's bring you back down. Okay. All right, it's a vase mode print, so it's solid on the top. Let's rotate you 90 degrees and bring it over here. And that'll fill out the rest of that. It should be perfectly sized for this terminal cleaner. Obviously, my base plates aren't laid out as neatly as they could be. That would give us a more even look, but you get the idea. So the last thing I think we need, just turn off the canvas real quick. And I want to turn this body back on so we can see what it looks like inside of the enclosed space. Shut that off, turn our canvas back on. I guess we could use another one of these for, yeah, I mean, this should fit in there pretty perfect. So I'm going to create a copy of these again, drag it over just a little bit. And that should do it for this cart. All right, so we've got basically everything but the tool, the main tool here, which for now, honestly, can probably just sit there because it could fit here, it could fit up here, really depending on how they decide to lay this thing out. So now that I know that I've got all of these different components inside of my model, I can go into OrcaSlicer and create some plates and start printing out all of the different components that I've laid out here. So if we open up OrcaSlicer, I've got my P1P chosen, and I'm gonna just have my Fusion on the other screen so I can see what it is that I need to be bringing in. So I know for the base plates, I've got a 7x7, a 1x7, a 1x2. So let's open those. We're not going to load them as a single object because they're all their own parts. Well, this creates some sort of interesting anomaly. So apparently the 7x7 build plate is far larger than what the P1P can do. That's all right though, because all I need to do is reorganize or count out. I can just use the smaller size plates. Essentially what I need to know is how many I go over and how many I go down, just so I know how many to print. Obviously the 7x7, I believe it's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our additional 1 by gives us 8 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 8 by 11. Let's do a couple beds. So this is what we need to be mimicking. We can't fit anything that is 7 long. So let's do the 4x4s, because then I can print the 2x2s. And also I can probably fit in there a 2x4, right? If we rotate that 90 degrees. Let's see if we can copy and paste that, rotate it back to 0, and fit it in here. So this is basically going to give me 2 of the 4x4 frames. Just obviously I can't fit 4x4 onto this build plate, so we're separating them into a 4x4 and the two 2x4s. Since I'm just going to print this plate 3 times, take us a little over 3 hours. The next thing I want to get printed out, we can come back into here in Fusion, and I'm just going to shut off all of the frame parts. That way we are left with only the components that we're going to print. So this one is called Somewhat Universal Long Socket Holder, and I'm just going to put this back on my other screen for now so I can open these files up. So there's one of our socket holders. I'm going to set it. So there's our 6-inch socket holder. And then we've also got this in there twice. I'm just going to copy and paste that because we're going to print that twice. Same with this. Try to get them lined up on the build plate so they're not taking up too much space. So that will eliminate this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Next we need our screwdriver holders. We want 2 of these. And then I also need the 4x6 wrench holder. All right, so that will eliminate this one, and the wrench holder. Next up, I'll take our wire stripper holders in here. I feel like I should be able to. All right, so we've got the wire stripper holder there that we can eliminate. The last thing I think I can fit on here is that little box for our battery. So that's not going to fit there. So right now I've got most of the tools into here. Let's just see how long this would take to print. About 8 hours and 42 minutes. One thing I can say for sure is that 4 walls is probably a little overkill. Quality, I can come in and we can bump this up to like a 0.26 for the layer height. And no ironing, classic, that's good. Do 3 top layers, 3 bottom layers, 15% infill. And it will use about 292.52 grams and cost $3.51. I am going to send this down to the Bamboo Lab P1P. Let's just use black. So those are going to go to the P1P right now, and then I will go and finish getting the rest of these parts all loaded up and printed on the A1 Mini. Alright, so I've got the settings changed up for the A1 Mini. Basically just going to copy and paste this 4 times. So that eliminates all 4 of these. Last thing is this base. And this is for the battery terminal cleaner. I'm going to go into Objects inside of OrcaSlicer and click on that guy so I can tell it. We'll go strength, top layers, 0, 8 base layers, 2 outer walls, turn off the infill. And everything else looks pretty good. That kind of leaves us with that. I'm going to get this sent down to the A1 Mini. So the only other thing to print out after these are finished is going to be our 3 base plate sets, and that'll take about 3.5 hours for all of them. At this point, we will come back when everything is finished on the printers. All right, and with these finished up, right on the A1 Mini, we have the battery terminal cleaner and the screwdriver organizers. Moving on over to the P1P, we have the plier holder and our wrench holder, as well as some of the extensions for our sockets and the socket holders. And I'm going to get the rest of the base plates printed out right now. I've got some printing on the A1 Mini and some on the P1P. So these finished up fairly quickly. I got them on down to the auto parts store and started laying things out basically the same way that I had them here in my fusion diagram. I was slightly off on the measurements as far as the width of the cart. We could have gone with another 1x section up there, but everything seemed to fit just fine the way I have it laid out here. Although there's some movement between the base plates, it doesn't seem to be much of an issue thus far. So I'm just getting everything placed in here before I get all the tools set up, and they'll probably change this many times. It probably won't stay the same as it is here, but I wanted it to look very similar to how I had it set up, just so we can see how you can go from concept to reality in a matter of really about a 24-hour time span is how long it took from the time I started designing to the time that I went back and started laying everything out. There did end up being one or two more of the deep well sockets, but one of them fits into that battery terminal cart and the other one typically stays on that tool right there. So that's where I'm going to wrap this one up, folks. Thank you so much for sticking through my thought process on this video. If this is something you enjoy, I'd really like to know down in the comments below, because I enjoy making videos like this where I get to think out loud and kind of show you what goes on, and I go and design and think through some of my projects. This one took about 24 hours from start to finish, from the time that I got onto the computer and started designing until I brought it right back over to the auto parts store and installed it for them. If you have any tips or tricks that you would have used if this was your project, let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really does help out. And if you feel I've earned your subscription, I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, take care.